Inside Obstacle News. Well, obstacle race fans, guess who I've got with me today? It's Glenn Race, who won the Vegas Spartan Race recently and came out of the woodwork. So we're going to meet him today and figure out who he is. Who's this guy that made the pro team with almost no track record, it seems like. Let's find out who he is. So welcome, Glenn Race.
Oh.
He's a family man, obviously. So welcome to the show. And so tell me a little bit about you getting into Spartan Race. What was your first race, and how did you end up winning? Like, what's your background as well?
Yeah, well, my first Spartan race was Malibu, 2013. So it was about 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
And that was my first race, but a few months prior, about 3 to 4 months prior, I really started training specifically for Spartan Race and started doing my homework and followed the top guys. So
you kind of knew what you were getting into, at least, is what was going to be expected of you. And did you like watch YouTube videos or anything?
Yes, a lot of YouTube videos. I watched your video of this the September World Championships for Spartan.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, even just saw how the hoist and rope climb worked, and I tried to mimic a lot of the obstacles and for my training, and it took me. I mimicked most of them. The hoist I failed in Malibu, so I had to. I thought that would be I thought that would be cake. But since then, I've worked on getting a full repertoire in the backyard. So.
It's definitely, like, the hoist especially is a lot harder than people think. And I think, you know, it's funny when even some of the pros will have a hard time with it, even though they've done it like 20 times before. But
right.
Let me back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
And how did you find out about Spartan Race?
I think I probably found out about it 2 or 3 years ago when they first started coming on the scene, because I was living in North County, San Diego, in Carlsbad a couple years ago, and I noticed they were coming to Temecula, and there would be website traffic on that, and but I was never able to do it these past couple of years because it coincided with the Carlsbad Half Marathon, and that would go into my running background. But there's a few. I would be racing in that race in the past 5 years, so I was never able to make that happen for the Temecula Spartan, and I didn't want to commit to traveling any further than that in previous years. It looked really fun though, and it did look like there was incentives with the prize money, and so that was a draw, but not quite enough to get me there. Since I had the running was a higher priority at the time. Okay,
so let's back up even more.
Sure.
And so it sounds like you've got a running background. Tell me a little bit about how you started running and what type of competition you've faced in the past.
Yeah, I started running probably back in like 2003, 2004. I did it just to do something to keep me fit so that I could surf well. And I just surfed for fun in Santa Barbara. I went to UCSB, and I'm actually a mechanical engineer, so I was working at a company in Santa Barbara.
What is it with engineers? Like, I think Pack is an engineer.
Yeah, mechanical.
Ryan Adkins, have you heard of him before?
I have heard of him, yeah.
He's an engineer. It seems like engineers kind of like, I don't know, kind of you know.
Yeah, we're attracted to.
Yes, there you go. Attracted.
Yeah. I was catching on that magnetic thing you had going.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when you try to reach for the word and it's like right there and it, you know, doesn't come. But that's what editing is for. if I have time, right? So anyway, so you're an engineer. Did you run in college or any kind of competitive stuff before that? Like, when did you graduate?
I graduated in 2001 from UCSB, and I didn't do anything competitive in college.
Okay.
And in high school, I only tried out 1 year for the sprint team, and I never made it. I never was really fast at sprinting, and nothing competitive really. So I stuck with sports like snowboarding and aggressive rollerblading, if people know what that is.
Was that kind of like back when they used to do that on half pipes, kind of like skateboarding and stuff like that?
Yeah, that with the rollerblades. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happened to that? Like, does nobody do that anymore?
Very, very few people do that. It's funny. In the late '90s, it was popular, and then it was on the X Games.
Yeah.
And I think it might still be on the X Games, but it dropped off a lot. And once I got to college, I started getting into ultimate frisbee and other types of ultimate. Yeah.
Ultimate is my jam.
Nice. It's fun.
We should play ultimate at a Spartan race sometime.
We should bust out the frizz, and yeah, it's fun.
Sweet.
And going forward to when I started running in 2004, and then I just enjoyed the 1 mile and the 5K, the shorter, kind of getting more speed, and I did pretty well. I hit a 4:12 mile time on the State Street Mile in 2007, so that was after a couple years of training specifically for the shorter distance. And
okay, that's insane. By the way,
it's a fast course because it's
that's
a bit
insanely fast.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was good, and so getting faster there encouraged me to do the mile as well as the 5K. And I've done a couple marathons, but I like to stick with the faster 5Ks. And since then, I've tried to just shave off my 5K time and just kind of eventually got it down. My PR is at 14:59, so it's yeah.
I'm so jealous. I'm still trying to break 20.
Yeah,
but I'm a big guy. See, like you mentioned sprints. I actually came from a sprinting background. So in high school, I went to states, and in college, I had to keep my grades up, so I couldn't sprint as much, and I battled some shin splints and stuff. But I still kind of consider myself like a bigger. I'm like 6'1", 210. Oh. So I'm much more built for speed than this endurance stuff that I get drawn into.
Yeah.
But you should check out the my Extreme Nation race that just came out, Hobie Call's 1.5 mile race. You would probably love it.
Yeah.
Because it's fast. It's very fast and furious.
Yeah. That's the one I was watching at lunch today. I started watching I said cities, but I meant that one that looked, it did look fun. And I missed it because I was doing Arizona that weekend. But
okay. Yeah, there was a big split in the pros, and it seemed like everybody who wanted to try and podium in Arizona was in Arizona, and everybody that wanted to win the big bucks was in Florida to check out the Extreme Nation. But I mean, it was such a packed field. It was crazy. Yeah. So how did you do? Okay, so let's go back to Malibu. How did you place in Malibu? Because it sounds like you were kind of getting ready for it, training for it. You really kind of knew what you were doing. So how'd you end up there? Did you race elite?
Yeah, I went in elite, and I was just trying. I knew that the top guys, I would just not try to get in front of them because I knew that they had a lot more experience, and I just wanted to stay back and try to just hold fourth place. Oh, hold on, Mia. That's my older daughter, Mia.
Okay.
I just tried to hold fourth place and stay behind Hunter and Bracken.
She's doing somersaults behind you.
Good form, Mia. I like it. And so I held in fourth, but then I struggled but they were a bit ahead of me. I fell behind, I think, even further due to the gamble. I went the flat and longer way, and I think that was to my disadvantage. But either way, I learned a lot about what I lacked, and everything from my downhill trail running was very weak, and I was just too cautious. And I saw a little bit how Hunter and them, at least Hunter, he was the only one I could see at the time. He was in third at the time, and he booked down that hill, and even with the rain and dew. So that, and then I failed the hoist. So that was another thing that I ended up going in 5th place due to that. And
how'd you do on the spear and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did well on the spear. I've never failed the spear yet. I'm waiting for that. I know Yatsko just recently had his first mishap. I'm waiting for mine because it's bound to happen. But that's one of them early on. I knew that was a very specific skill, and I'd be silly to train with all these other things but not train the spear. So I looked on YouTube, and they had a few good tutorials on how to like put a little rubber bouncy ball at the end of a spear, and I just practice on that, duct tape the end and use that. I have a couple of those that I practice on, and that made all the difference. I just was a lot more confident going into every spear throw now. So
that's great.
Yeah,
I failed City Field this year, and I was I was so annoyed. I so didn't want to do burpees, but I did them all, and
nice.
You just keep moving. So so Malibu, you ended up in 5th at the end of the race.
Yeah, that's the guy. Matt Smith ended up passing me on the barbed wire crawl. He was a lot faster than me there. So yeah, definitely saw a lot of holes in my training, but I was fine. You have to go into the first race just as a learning experience, and as much as a video, you can watch 100 videos, but until you go there,
right,
and you see how they space the obstacles, that was another key for me. That I tweaked my training a lot based on the spacing of the obstacles and how they're clumped together typically to make it more of a spectator friendly most races. So that was a factor too. So yeah, I learned a lot. It was a good experience, and met Bracken and Elliot McGuire there, and yeah, it was kind of neat to see some of these guys I've seen in all these videos, and bunch of cool guys. Great.
Absolutely.
Great folks.
They're all fantastic. So then what was your next race?
It was Temecula.
Okay.
And it was nice how actually all 5 races, well, there were 2 at Temecula, 4 venues, but 5 races, all that I've done so far have all been drivable for me. So it's been nice.
Well, it tends to, Southern California lends itself much better to actually getting outside than Vermont and, Pennsylvania. Normally where I live, it's like wine country. We might get a foot at the worst of snow, and it generally doesn't stick around, and it's typically in, the high 20s to 30s most of the winter. This year was just brutal. But it's nice that they provide these year-round kind of races so that a lot of them in the winter months are in California, Arizona, stuff like that. And now they're starting to open back up in the East Coast, in the Midwest. I think Indiana is like next week.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems like they're pretty smart on how Spartan decides when and where, and it seems like they're learning and making it better as well. So yeah.
So what did you adjust for Temecula, and how did you do there?
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned a few of the things I did as far as do a lot of.
Oh, I'm losing you.
Got it?
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I wanted to, just make sure of course, Malibu and Temecula, both I knew had a lot of hills, and I'd hear so much about the hills. So that's one thing I've been working on. I'm pretty weak, relatively speaking, on my hill training. So that was a big one. Hills, trying to simulate the race a little bit more in my training, and of course the hoist.
Okay.
And which included, I think, in overarching aspect of the training was the more CrossFit, strength-based, the hunter-esque style of training as I see it, with developing some more strength, especially now seeing that this was part of the early season, since September with Vermont would be the goal at this point.
Right, okay.
I was kind of seeing it all as, well, I want to try to just build strength, and it's all these early races are still very, just kind of learn from it. I don't need to get, I don't have as high expectations yet, and just kind of keep building and try to catch any one of these top 4 or 5 guys, the Hunter, Hobie, Cody, and Bracken. If I could even get close, that would be good for now, and just kind of lean off of what I see them doing and learn from there. So
so you had some general confidence going in, like, wow, I could maybe catch some of these guys. Was Arizona after that?
Yeah. After I did both the super and sprint in Temecula, and then it was, I believe, a couple weeks after that. It was Arizona, and that was the next one. And that one, so in Temecula, I got 4th and 3rd.
Okay.
4th on the super because Hobie was there, and then 3rd on Sunday because Hobie wasn't there as part of the reason. And everyone, I think, placed equivalently on Sunday. Went 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3 with Hunter, John Yatsko, and I. So, and then Arizona was good, and then of course in Arizona, Hunter wasn't there. So then it was John, myself, and then I believe the Bear was 3rd. But, and that race, I just kept. You kind of eventually see what your paces are like and what people's strengths, and I kind of knew a ballpark of what my place was going to be, but you never really know, but you kind of know how to start off, and my idea was to start just kind of hang around John Yatsko and hang on his trail and see how long I could hang with him.
Now, do you know him from road racing, or do you and from kind of like the West Coast, or do you just know him from Spartan racing?
I just know him from Spartan racing. As far as I know, his first race was Temecula. Okay. And I met him after that Saturday Temecula race, and so we chat a little bit, but it's been fun since he's that much newer than I am. It's funny, the two of you just kind of like, blew onto the scene, and like I said, I think before we even came on the air was, Hobie and all these guys, they always talk, and we all talk on Facebook and whatever, and we're like, okay, so who's gonna just show up and like beat these guys, or are they not gonna get beaten? I think people were really surprised when Hobie won World Champs because of, the field of people were there, and how Matt Novakovic, the Bear, had beaten him in Virginia on a really tough hilly course, and it was just such a big field, and he came out with the win. But on any given other weekend, we're waiting for guys like you that are just like incredible runners or incredible CrossFit athletes or strength athletes to kind of just show up and like blow us all away. So it's really neat when it actually happens. Yeah. So then, so what was after Arizona? The next obstacle course race was the Atlas race in Temecula, and I believe that was March 22nd. Yes. And nice, another local race, and I actually would argue that would be the a race where the most elite obstacle racers have been at thus far in any race that I know of. Even more than the World Championships last year for Spartan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Due to the fact that there's this other little, speaking of newcomers, there's this other breed of folks on the Atlas Pro team, which were, you would probably know, Max King.
Yeah.
Then you have
Rose.
Chad Trammell and John Riccardi. Yeah. And congratulations for him. He got 2:27 in Boston Marathon. But yeah, those guys are all very strong running background. Obviously, Max King he's maybe top in the world at the trail running. And so they brought an element of speed for sure. Of course, everyone got hit by there was a long bucket sandbag carry at the end of that Atlas race. And I
heard that you actually took the sandbag over some walls and stuff.
Yeah, well, you brought it up to the wall, and then you had to put the sandbag down, climb over the wall, and then pick the sandbag up again, and then proceed.
Okay, so you didn't actually take the sandbag over the wall.
No, you didn't have to throw it over.
I guess that could be dangerous.
On the side.
That could be a little dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. They had two walls. Yeah.
Cool. So, how did you end up at the Atlas race?
Atlas race was Atlas race I ended up in 9th place overall, and I was actually pretty happy considering the field. I probably should have ended up 10th, but Hobie just was off that day, and I think it was just neat to race amongst all the other guys. Until that sandbag carry, I was actually in front of Matt Murphy and Cody Moat.
Oh wow! Yeah, I forgot Matt Murphy showed up at that race. Where did he come from?
Yeah, down under, right?
Yeah.
And when they flew him in, I was wow, that's impressive. So they had the top 4 from the Spartan race, and then all these new breed of guys, myself, John Yatsko, and Brian Gowiski, he's another top guy here down in San Diego, and it was a blast. I really stunk at the sandbag carry, but it was great. It was great because it's another race where you kind of see gaping holes in the training, and I was ahead of Cody Moat before the sandbag carry, right when he got the sandbag carry, and I ended up in 9th. And Cody ended up in 3rd. So I could see there, he knows his stuff, and he probably learned from the finals last year that the mile-long sandbag carry up that mountain, that thing was absolutely brutal. I did it on Sunday, and it just buries you. But I felt wow, I made it past that. That was the one thing I was really, really afraid of. In terms of just completely bonking or cramping up, and getting past that was really mentally great for me. So, getting more sandbag training is definitely something I'm going to do this year. Nice. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I bonked on that, so good job.
Now, how about, so what was after Atlas race then?
After that was just the Vegas, I believe. Then there was a 6-week gap in between the Atlas and Vegas. So, just fine-tune the training more, some more kind of just strength building. I've never done might have never done a squat before 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm just seeing some of the kind of the methods that Hunter starting to employ, I see, and some of the other top guys and the kind of CrossFit side of things. I've been trying to add some of that in, do some bench press and arms, back, legs, deadlifts. I've never done a deadlift before. So it's a lot of new stuff. I'm just kind of playing around with the training. I don't have a coach right now.
Okay.
I previously have had a running coach for a few years, and I learned a few things. Mostly I learned that when given left to my own devices, I'm going to overtrain.
Okay.
And I am a little concerned about that, and I need to just be careful because I've seen a few of the top guys how there's been injuries, and when you have all this volume of work that we're doing with between the running, and then we're adding on this whole new world of CrossFit, every type of muscle groups incorporated.
Right.
And it's a lot of wear on the body, and I need to just, I don't know. I hope I don't have to learn the hard way on this, but.
So walk me through the Vegas race a little bit and how it went down, basically, for those of us who weren't there.
Yeah, that was a fun race. Well, it was nice winning, but it was just, it started out with Hunter, the Bear, and John Yatsko and myself, and it was 4 of us in the beginning, and Hunter pulled ahead of Bear and John Yatsko after the bucket carry, and you could see the pictures came up today on the Spartan photos. So you could see that, that's where Hunter had started with the lead there, and he pulled 10 seconds ahead of me and a few seconds ahead of the other guys. So, but then after a couple more obstacles, maybe about a third of the way through, Matt, the Bear, dropped back behind me a little bit, I think, and then John and I were just, eventually we caught up to Hunter. It was because on some of those relatively flat run sections and pretty long run sections, considering it was a little over a 9-mile course in total.
Okay.
And their only hills were these little gravel hills that they would have once in a while, and they were a lot of fun, and I think they tried to incorporate them as much as they could, but compared to Temecula or Malibu, it was flat.
Yeah, you just don't get the altitude and the long-term climbing. I've noticed that, even just cycling, there's a huge difference between, a steep 500-yard climb compared to a 5-mile climb that maybe isn't all that steep, but it just continues and continues and continues, and that's how it was in Vermont. You just never see the top.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I need to do my research on Vermont still, because it looks brutal, and I'm sure they're not going to make it easier this year, right?
Norm Koch, the course designer. He's in Europe right now doing all the European races that they're putting together, but he's just sadistic. That's all there is to say about him. I'm sure you'll have lots of fun, but so it was kind of a more flatter course, lots of running. So how did it play out? Where did you feel like you made your critical move and kind of pulled ahead?
It was fun because there was a lot of lead changes between eventually when on one of those straightaways, a little before halfway through, John and I pulled ahead of Hunter, and on any run section, John Yatsko would be faster than me, and he would pull up a few seconds ahead of me, and I'd be just trying to hang with him. And so he was in the lead, and then when we hit I think there was the Atlas carry and the hoist or something like that, and then I would pull ahead a little bit on a couple of the obstacles. So I thought, oh, okay, this is cool. But I never thought I would end up with the win, because after each time, the wind would go blowing out of my sails, because John would just come out of nowhere. It seems like
kind of run you
I have
down.
a decent lead, and then he would run me down relatively pretty quickly. And
that's so demoralizing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And because he's done that at both Temecula races and at the Arizona race and at the Atlas Temecula race. He's beaten me on all 4 races. So mentally I was ready to be happy with the second place, and just to stay in front of Hunter if I just stay on John's heels, he'll keep me at a pace that'll keep us ahead of Hunter at least a little bit. And I would be happy with second. But then what finally did it at the end was, after we did this back and forth, basically through a few of the obstacles, near the end, the last mile or two, I'd say, maybe even the last mile, they had the tire flip, and
Okay.
I lost about 10 seconds. I grabbed the woman's tire on accident. It looked a lot easier to take. I'm like, why don't we grab this one? I'm like, I didn't see the pink circle on it. You're not really all there when you're in the middle of these races. And so I lost a little there. So he had a decent chunk on me by the time I got to the barbed wire crawl. And fortunately, the thing that ended up being the game changer and for me was that final pancake sandbag carry at the end.
Oh, okay.
Where they do that little, where they took you up a little hill with the sandbag, and then you had to walk back down, and it looked like you were looping back down. And at the beginning of that sandbag carry, I passed John a little bit and had a little more distance on him. But if it ended there, I wouldn't have had much. But which was actually fortunate for me, they actually kind of tricked you a little bit by winding you back up that hill again and back down 2 more times.
Oh, wow.
So the sandbag carry was longer than you might initially think, and so, which actually for me was a benefit because I spaced out a little more from Yatsko, which I felt good, so that last quarter mile he wouldn't be able to give me a little better chance.
Right.
And so yeah, pulled away probably about 45-50 seconds from him at that point, and then it was only like the spear throw and a traverse wall and a couple little obstacles that they have at the end of the race, and I was very surprised. I just, I kind of was, great, can't miss that spear throw, but yeah, got it all, and I was just stoked at the end to actually be ahead, and it was, it was a lot of fun. It's a fun feeling to feel like you're the first one doing these obstacles that have been made for all these thousands of people, and it was a great time. And so I did a little 360. I tried to do a little 360 mute grab at the end there. So it was kind of fun. They have some good pictures on the Spartan site. So it was good times. And I think Yatsko ended up about 47 seconds behind me. So
that sandbag really made the difference there. That's great.
It really did. It probably gave me about a minute or so on him. And he probably caught up 10 seconds on that last run, but yeah, that I'll enjoy it while I have a first place win, and I'm sure John's hitting that sandbag, and so and I know Hunter is doing a lot of preparation for the finals, so
yeah. So when did Spartan come to you and say, hey, be on the pro team?
Yeah, it's funny. It went the other way around. After my Malibu race, I actually was curious about how it works with this pro team, and I felt like, I was a little faster than a couple guys on the pro team at the Malibu race, so I thought, well, it couldn't hurt to just look into that, because I was either going to be that or buy an elite season pass and just to find out what would be the best way. So I inquired and talked with the folks there a little bit, and they basically said, okay, well, we'll see how Temecula goes in Arizona, and at least Temecula, and then we'll go from there. And I think it worked out. It's fortunate for me to be able to get a place on the team, and since I was able to perform to their expectation, and I was very, very thrilled, and it was just been a fun time, and yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, so it was more like you kind of reached out to them and said, hey, if I can do well, I'd love to be on the team. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So sometimes you have to grab your destiny with both hands and yank.
Yeah.
You can't just wait around for it to come to you. That's pretty cool, though. Yeah. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
So what's... Go ahead.
Oh, I see. I might have bugged them a little bit too, but I'm trying to.
Hey, the squeaky wheel, right?
Desperate. Yeah.
So when's your next race coming up?
I can't tell you that. No. It is. It's gonna going to be in a week and a half, actually, in Colorado.
Okay.
I'll be racing for in the my first military sprint.
Yeah.
So I hear that it's a little more intense and a little more obstacle intensive. And I've seen a few videos. It looks like it'll be fun. And yeah, so we'll see. It should be a fun one. There should be, I think there's at least going to be a couple other top guys there as well. So yeah.
Now, do you have any kind of, before we go, do you have any kind of blog or website or Facebook page or anything that our audience can follow you in?
Yeah, right now it's primarily just the Facebook page that I have. And it's just under my name, Glenn Racz, GLENNRACZ. But yeah, that would be the way for now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It was great to hear your story, and I hope that we'll be seeing a lot more of you in the future.
Yeah, sounds good, Joel.
All right, thanks again.
All right, my pleasure. Bye.
Thanks for watching Inside Obstacle News. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out some of my other awesome clips, training tips, and interviews.